My name's David Gore. I'm from Webster County. What's the closest county to me? Winston? Any more close? Besides Johnny and Bobby and Marty? All right, I want to talk to you a little bit today about coyotes. A lot of folks want to make a lot more out of it than it is. A coyote is a smart animal because he's got the ability to remember, and I'm not going to say he can think like me and you. He's not going to make a rocket ship or go to the moon, anything like that. But he's got more than ability than most animals as far as association by, not necessarily by reasoning alone, but by association to what he has been used to seeing, or bad experiences he's run up on, or anything from eating to drinking to whatever. He can retain some things that other animals just don't do. If they can do it, they ain't letting us know it. That's how he gets the name of being so smart. Now, a coyote that has been habituated to something, such as a trap pinching him, that animal knows something bad about that experience, whether it was the smell of it, the pinch of it, according to how bad he got pinched, and so forth. But yet and still, that animal can still be caught if you're willing to take the time and let him show you what he's willing to show you about how to catch it. Now that's a lot being said, and what we're going to talk about today more in general is coyotes in general. This is getting your stuff ready, getting up, leaving the house, setting some traps, and catching some coyotes. That one or two coyotes that I was just talking about, that's the exception. And for you to go out and think that every coyote's like that, that's not right. Because most of them, if you'll just get a good habit of what you do as far as the equipment you have, how you set traps, and how you approach it, and it all goes back to what you think. How many of you are Baptists? The biggest majority of us. Well, you go in a Baptist church and you talk about doing something different than the way we've done it always, and you can get the walls tore down right quick like. You get habituated in your thinking. So sometimes it means that we have to learn, just say, well, maybe what I think ain't right, and I need to go back and recheck that. I'm going to start with equipment. Then we'll go to a set. Sets are not magic. Sets are simply a place that you have got to put this trap and leave it to catch him. A place to store your scent, or in some cases no scent, to where when he comes along, he has a chance of getting his foot in this. It's no magic sets, and I'll show you that. It's going to be about the boringest thing you can see what set I make, because I virtually make no dirt holes, especially after it starts raining, because they're full of water. So if you're a dirt hole man, yeah, they work, but they don't work full of water. They don't work very good at all. I use I like the old Montgomery style of traps. It's a square jaw trap, live market trapping. If you're killing coyotes and not worried about the feet, I'm not going to say what you need and what you don't. Here's my thinking, and I want to show you my thinking, and then you take that and adjust it to your style of trapping. I never tell nobody go out and do what I do and use what I use, but I do tell them my way of thinking and the point that took me to get to that type of thinking that I have. On traps, one thing that you need to take into, I got little hands and I ain't that strong, but the reason I've got my traps set up the way that they are, number one, the trap. This is a John Graham, Montana. Tim right around here has got legend traps that are made just like this old Montgomery style of trap. This just happens to be a Montana. I've got garbage cans full of the old Montgomerys from the 70s. The reason I like this trap is for a reason. First of all, it's 6 inches jaw spread. To me, that's the minimum for a coyote. The reason I say that is because of kill area. If you'll measure this, do this with your trap, and then you adjust your thinking according to that. Measure from here to here and from here to here and total that up. That'll give you square inches of what you got as far as kill area. Now, if you've got a small pan, kill area really doesn't matter because all that matters is what that pan is. I got a big pan. I like them. And a lot of folks say, well, you get toe catches with that. That's right. Toe catches that the next fellow without them wouldn't have had a catch at all. Toe catch with this trap, he still got a good foot. The reason I like, and all of that's because of kill area now. That's kill area. The reason I like this trap so much is because of the way it's made. Two main things. First of all, it has no dog. It's a dogless trap. The trap has a notch here that when you set it and pull that notch up, that holds it open. There's no dog to bend or get in the way. Second of all, it has a smooth rolled jaw that is not cast. I've laminated it. I've base plated it with 1/8 base plate. This trap isn't that heavy. I 4-coiled it. A lot of people ask, why do you need to 4-coil? When it gets muddy and raining, that's a good reason. But the biggest reason for 4-coiling is this. Now, I'm not going to argue with anybody about it, but I've been trapping since I was 11, and I'll be 57 next month. And I've read stuff, I've watched, when videos come out in the 80s, I started watching them. But I've based everything that I do off stuff that I've learned from somebody else, but I had to try it first. Don't just take my word, try it. This rolled smooth edge, when you catch an animal, you fire that trap and it closes on his foot, he's pulling this way. This edge under here is what does the cutting. That's not a cast jaw. Cast, and I know some of you, the 550 is a high quality trap. Two things I don't like about the 550. It's only 5.5 inch jaw spread, and it's cast jaw. Cast jaws, if you look at them under a microscope, you can Google that, by the way, on these little old phones we got now. If you look at it, it's porous. Looks like a piece of sandpaper. Some of the guys with our little group in the Crow-Op have some trouble with their feet. And you can ask them, I don't try to change their mind or nothing about their traps. But the cast is much rougher on the foot when it rains in sand than this jaw right here. This is a poured steel jaw. It's not cast. It's poured steel. I think they call it forged. But it's smooth and it's rolled. Out of anywhere from 150 to 200 coyotes a winter, a good guess on the average, I'll have 5 coyotes that have feet bad enough that I can't heal them up and do anything with them. I'm not saying I don't have a cut. There's nothing wrong with a cut. Cut will let out lymph fluids. It's just nothing wrong with a cut. Give them a shot of Dex, a shot of penicillin, or I really like pig antibiotics. I like that. And most time it clears up within a few days. A cut, there's nothing wrong with. But if you're getting lacerations and getting them on a regular basis, sometimes you're gonna have an animal that's big enough with a live market, he would just about cut his foot in a rubber jaw. You can't help that. But on the best, as far as the number of animals that I can and can't sell, I get the best off this old jaw. I've stuck with it all these years since the 70s. I started in 71 or 2, Of course, there weren't no coyotes back then. And I learned the hard way on all of it, but I really do like this trap. Now, should you go home and change like I do? No. Hopefully you can hear me say something though that'll help you, whatever you do. I don't want nobody to be like me. I want to, if I can help you to be better, that's what I always try to do. People help me in coming up through trapping and all. There was nobody back when I first started to tell you much, and the ones that was old guys that wouldn't tell you nothing. And we're kind of blessed today with all the information we get. Some of it, though, you need to sift through it, because some of it's just a little off. Has anybody got any question on traps? There again, don't do what I do, but this is what I like. And if you use a 550, if you use a Bridger number 2 or 3, Bridger number 3 is getting on up there in jaw spread and weight. There's none that I haven't tried. There's no brand that if it's come out, I've bought it and tried it at some point. And I'm always back right here. What about rubber jaws? Rubber jaws, you can get good feed off rubber jaws. But I'll say this, I hated the 5 or 6 every day or two I had to pull out of the ground, take home and replace them with something. I had to have twice as many traps because I had to take them rubber jaw traps home and change the pads out. Coons will chew the far out of them. When it gets cold, the pads will break. Cold, he'll really cut his foot thin. And I just got away from them. But if you like them, you know, I go about 6 months out of the year, and I go every day. And that's the way I do it. So you may not do that much. You may adjust your time to where something in between works. But just think about that on trail. I like a shock spring, and if you see the way I got it set up, right here is a bullet stake. Y'all know what that is. I got a foot of chain. That'll do just about anywhere I'm at. I like the shock spring. You don't have to have it, but I do like it. Not necessarily for foot damage, but, excuse me, I like it because when it's muddy, you get a toe-caught animal there, he may be able to get up enough steam to get out. Most of the time with this shock spring, I don't lose them when it's muddy like that on a toe-caught animal. I like them. That's a 53-pound shock spring. I do like them. All of my traps are set up this way. I weld everything shut. From here all the way down. Everything's welded shut. Do you have to? No. But over just, let's say, a 5-year period from what you'll lose, and you will lose them. I don't care what you do. If you'll go ahead and weld them shut to begin with, you're done with it. All the way down to here. That's just a washer I welded shut. If I use a drag, which I use a lot of them, I've got a dog. I like drags. I think you get better feet with drags all the way around. And I like them, and I use them all I can, and all I do is take a quick link, connect it to that. That's, I believe that's 6 foot of chain, which gives me a total of about 9 foot altogether. That's just about perfect from what I have learned. He may get in some stuff like that. A small animal may not go far, small coyote. A big coyote, I've had them get in cutover where it's enough wood and trees, and somehow they make it through and they'll be off over yonder at Logan's Roadhouse. Just because it's a big animal and he got up ahead of steam and he kept going. These are drags I make myself. Cotton picker spindles are fine. I've got some with them on them. That's the best. Here's what I want you to look at on a drag. You got to have some points that'll dig first. And they got to be at a good angle. Now all of this business about the old Gorman, I I've never had, what they call that little old loop old Gorman come up with? Anti-hitch? That's right. If you're in the wide open, you might use them more. I've just not seen the need for them, so I used to fool with them a little bit and put them on there. I don't no more. This is about the perfect ratio of sweep to shaft length. This is a foot plus the D-ring plus this. So it'd be 14 inches altogether. 12 inches. This here is 6 inches. That's just about the perfect ratio. That drag lays down, and when you pull it, either side is going to make a mark, and it's heavy enough it's going to make one. Yet it's still light enough to where smaller animals can get out of plain sight. Now, that's pretty much it on traps. Does anybody got anything they want to throw out there?
Let me ask you this now. Either you use that earth, you don't use both of them, do you? At the same time.
Talking about this and a drag?
Right. You
No.
use that or the drag.
Yeah. All you got to do is unscrew this.
That's what I'm saying, but you use one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been a game warden for nearly 36 years, and while I was having to work and run traps, most of the time I staked them because they'd be there. I had to go. But now when I started using the dog, that really takes a lot out of it there, and I mean, by the time I get out of the truck and he's out, he's got him found, just unless you put it in the wide open and got a mile to go. I don't stake, I don't drag them kind. When I'm in the wide open, I do stake. You know, but when I'm this close to the brush, I put it on the drag, because that's most of the time that's the first place he's going.
How much pans? How much pans?
Very good question. I'm glad I forgot about that. Now this is where some of them are going to look at me. If I had a brand new Bridger number 2, how much pan tension would I put on it? I'd tighten it all the way down. For coyotes, now if you're looking for a do-it-all trap to where you can catch the coyote, the cat, the fox, the coon, say for instance like a 550 setup, it's about 2.5 pounds. That's a good compromise. But now there's the key. I said compromise. If you're going to trap coyotes, you need to set up for coyotes, because when you go to compromising, it's going to cause you grief somewhere down the road of some kind. I've done tried it. If I'm going to catch fox for somebody, I carry these home and I get my 1.5s out with a positive trip pan on them. They're laminated where if a coyote does get his foot in them, I can hold him. But I use that 1.5 for fox, and I leave him at home. I'm not much on a compromise, but I realize that for some people, that a compromise is a good thing. If you've got 2 weeks to trap, and you're out there giving it your best, and you want to catch whatever comes by, that's what you ought to be using. I don't care what I say or anybody else. But just realize what I'm saying for a coyote, it is a compromise. I use at least 5 pounds. See, these right here aren't waxed yet, but I'll scrape the wax off. But after the initial waxing and you catch one animal, it's pretty much going to be that much all the time. That's about 5 pounds. If it's more, it's not going to hurt. I just make sure it's 5 pounds. The only thing about these traps is you can't adjust this anyway but up, because you have to take a file and file that into there. The good thing about me is once you get them filed, they, you know, 30 years they may be wore down. 30 years now. But most of the dog type traps and the new dogless type traps have an adjustment screw on them. And if you're going to trap coyotes, a cat or a coyote, either one, 5 pounds, at least 5 pounds. The reason being, that's a good question, the reason being, when that animal puts a foot down. All this business about they can hear wax paper and they can feel their foot going down, jerk it back, and I don't think that's true on coyotes. A cat, maybe. Because think about how a coyote hunts. When he's hunting, most of the time he's trotting. He's moving. A cat, look at your house cat at the house. He's slipping, he's stopping, he's barely moving, he's trying to stay hid. May be different with a cat. But yet, all the same, in my experience with cat and coyotes, at least 5 pounds. And the reason being, you want that animal to commit. You want him to put his foot down and put weight on it. You know, when you step, say you were going to step from this concrete over to that walkway. Well, you've got to get over those rocks. So you're going to look and try to focus yourself to where you won't bust your rear end stepping over there. Now, the older we get, we're going to bust our butt some. Ain't nothing you can do about that. And the point there being, when he puts his foot down, you want him to go ahead and commit all of his weight, because what that does, whenever he puts it all down on this trap here, if it's filed and set just right, which I go over mine fairly regular, if I notice they're not, whenever that pan falls, he commits all that weight, it's just boom. It doesn't travel this far, it travels this far before it fires. That's why you want a heavier pan weight, a short throw, to where the bottom just falls out. He commits all his weight, because he's going to look how far down that is in there. That's what you want. If you're getting a lot of toe catches, you're not using a big pan, not using wire screen, you're still getting a lot of toe catches, chances are you've got too light a poundage on your trap. That's something to think about there. That's a good question. Have I forgotten any more good questions? Ain't no way, I've done demos and ain't no way to remember all this stuff, so y'all help me. If you got one, let me have it. Paying attention is very important with coyotes. I'd say that's one of the more important things. All right. I'm gonna step out there. Y'all may want to get where you can see me. There we go. Thank you, sir.
What kind of trap you put up?
This is one of John Graham's Montanas. It's a copy of the old Montgomery from the 70s. Yeah.
The ones I had, he had modified those. Yeah.
Right. You gonna be able to get everything? First of all, with this drag, if I'm on stake, here's my back, and I'm gonna put my trap on the average. Here's what I always tell folks: you want to put your trap where the animal's gonna step. But on the average, I'm just about like you see right there. Is there a set footage, inches to stay back away? No. I think you can't get too close, so always be aware of that. It's hard to say you can be back too far. You know, if you're back over here, that's too far. But say you got it right up in here, back right in here, dog to the, I always put my dog to the scent unless it's a dirt hole. If you're making a dirt hole, put your levers to the hole. Say this is a dirt hole, put your levers to the hole, one of those two ways. Because when that animal is smelling something that's in that hole, a lot of times he wants to rake his foot back across it. You can catch that animal like that where, if it's like that, he rakes across it, chances are that jaw is going to pick his foot up out of the way. This is what I call, what I've got here, flat set. Would somebody hand me my rock I left over yonder? Did I leave it? I did. Hand it to him, please. I use a flat set practically all the time. I make a few dirt holes in the fall when it ain't raining, and here's why I make them. Because I've got an animal or two left that ain't coming to my lure, ain't wanting to work a flat set, ain't wanting to do something because I done caught some and he knows something's up. I'll use that dirt hole for a change up. Now most folks don't do that. Most folks set dirt holes and do something else for a change up. I just don't make dirt holes. Am I trying to get you to stop making dirt holes? No, I'm not. A flat set, remember, is this. It's a bedded trap with something in front of it to hold your lure. It could be something that's already here. Say for instance, I wouldn't like this for a coyote, but for a cat, they may skin me for this, but you kick you out an indentation there and clean it up and set you a trap for a cat. I don't like all this stuff. A coyote really don't like all that sticking around his face when he's smelling something he don't know what it is. A flat set is something to hold your lure with just a bedded trap. Every flat set looks different. I bring a lot of my stuff in case I can't find something already there. I haul it with me. Rock, chunk of wood. I pick stuff up in the off season. I always try to pick something up that's got an indentation, because when it's set down, you can put your lure under there. When it rains, your set still works with a flat set versus a dirt hole. That keeps my lure shielded from the weather. I pick up stuff like that on purpose. Notice how this is kind of curved out. Works perfect that way. I do like to pile a little stuff up, but I'll guarantee you, in an area like this where everything's fairly uniform, if a coyote walked down through here and he sees that sitting there, for no other reason, he's gonna have to investigate it. Sometimes you don't want that though. Sometimes you want to leave everything the way it is. Why? Well, you may have caught some of the animals and you may have one that's giving you trouble. Don't want to work a set, or you're scratching your sets up. Then I'm gonna go to something a little bit different. I didn't disturb anything here. My trap would be here. I would move this stuff out, bed my trap. As far as the drag is concerned, it's nothing wrong with sticking it up under all of this stuff just like this. Moving it right back down just like it is. You can dig and bury it in the ground. A lot of work sometimes, especially when the ground's hard. Covered up, you could drag it off. If you were up here, you could hide it under one of them rocks. You can hide your drag. I've hid my drags in a shortcut pasture before. You can do that. This coyote, however, is coming through here now, he's used to something like that. So something that would be a little out of the way, I blend all this back in. I make it where whenever my trap's there, it looks like nothing's there. I give him something not to just walk up anywhere he wants. If I had to put something else there, just so many times you can stick something up this way and it still doesn't look out of the way, but he won't step on it. You can guide him, is what I'm saying. All I've got here is a wooden dowel about that long. It's got some sheep wool around it and a rubber band around it. Drive that in, and what he wants to do, you want to put something on there that he wants to bite and pull. Would you put a gland lure on there? No. I'd use a food type lure. Something that he wants to put, because he's going to go to biting and pulling once he gets his nerve built up, and he circles and circles. And he's good until he comes on in. If he don't step on your trap right off the bat, he's going to go to try to get that out. Pulls, he pulls, he pulls. Sooner or later, he's going to pick his foot up and step on your trap. You get the idea in there. This set here, you could bait with paste bait. Same deal here. I would cover it back in. Why wouldn't you leave that little bit of dirt showing right there in front of that? Don't look right, does it? Look at all of this. Do you see any dirt? Every time that I have ever tried to leave a small dirt pattern, 9 times out of 10 I get it dug up. If you did this here, you bed your trap and left it there, I'm not saying you wouldn't catch a coyote, but I am saying just pretty quick they're gonna catch on to it. It's a lot better to go ahead and blend something like this back in. If you were on bare dirt, doesn't matter. Matter of fact, when I get on bare dirt, say this was all dirt right here, right now, I don't see any bare dirt. What I would usually try to do, I would try to take my excess dirt and sift it over this, just make it look like a big mess. That's a sight attraction right there if it ain't nothing else. But what you're doing, you're feathering it out and blending it in. If you give him one little something to pick out, he may screw up the first time, but the next one won't. They're social enough animals to where when you catch one, if there's one within hearing distance, they know it. That's why most everywhere I stop, I just brought one trap with me. Most everywhere I stop, I'm gonna have at least 2 traps. Some places, if the sign warrants it, and I see it's necessary, I may have 4, 5, 6, according to how many animals I think there. If you get a coyote in a trap, and you know there's a good chance of more coyotes coming there to him, if you've got that good a population, put enough traps there, because they'll come and you want some stuff there for them when they get there. What I like to do in that situation is, this set may have a food lure, one may have a gland lure, one set may just have a little urine on it. Because when they figure out enough of something ain't right, they're gonna start that circling business. And if you can put your sets to where when they do, if they're gonna circle that one that's caught, say you got him staked, he's staked down, he's running a racetrack. When that animal, other animals come in to see what's going on, you want them to run into some other obscure sets. And that's the way you drive off sometimes with 2 or 3 or 4 when you normally wouldn't drive off with but 1. One other thing. Sometimes I use a black block about 6 inches square with a spike drove through it that I'll pin to the ground. I may put it in the wide open like a pasture, And it may be the attraction, site attraction itself. I may not cover it up, but you see me here, I'm trying to cover everything up just a little bit. A coyote likes, for some reason, he likes something that is about half head a lot better than he does something in plain view. Now, you and me, we want to know everything. We don't want no surprises. We want to know what all, we want to see it. Well, a coyote, whenever he makes his mind up, he'd a lot rather have it like this, just slightly blended in and slightly try to obscure it, than just flopping it out there. The one exception is, I will use that black block sometimes. But now they get used to that. They get used to that. You may catch one with something like that and have to pull it up after that first time. Any questions? I always, usually there ain't no way to blend that back in. Sometimes you can do a halfway job, but it's so much smell, they're gonna know it's a catch circle. Chances are some of them done been there and seen it anyway. I do always set them back. I do catch coyotes in a catch circle, but normally I've always got a set off over here that hadn't been nothing caught into it for that. Remember that one thought though about when you set your traps. When I walk up, I've drove down through here, I drive to practically every one of them. And I've picked a location, whatever that location is you've picked for whatever reason. When I go to set my traps, I try to take, the first thing I take into account when I get out of the truck, I find where I want to place each trap. And then I decide, where's the wind coming from? Kind of out of this way. I'm gonna put one into the prevailing wind, I'm gonna put one into the secondary. If I put another one, it's gonna be where you'll run into it circling. I try to cover wind directions. Why is that? Because the coyote, in some of the old government tests, they proved that when he don't understand what he's smelling or seeing, he goes back to this. He trusts this 100% of the time. He don't trust this all the time, these eyes. He don't trust these ears all the time. He trusts this 100% of the time. He's going to get lined up with the wind where the wind is, it ain't blowing now, it's hot. Say for instance, it's coming this way. He's going to circle around and he's going to get to where he can walk up to it. And if you've got your trap set over here, unless he steps over it or just happened that close, I like it where he's facing into the wind when he's standing here working the trap. I try to pick the prevailing wind and the next best choice, which is usually in our part of the world, will be southwest and north. If you're trapping right now, as hot as it is, you know about everything's gonna be back this way. You could set 2 or 3 traps to this direction. Wintertime though, if it warms up, it's gonna come out of the south, southeast. It's gonna turn cold and rain, turn cold. It's gonna come out of the northwest and the north. I'll set them 2 regardless. I don't never set 1 trap. If I do, I've got another one 40, 50 yards right on. I do string them out on a field sometime, a field road. But for the most place, if you drive into one spot and you drive back out and go somewhere else, I wouldn't leave without at least 2 traps and maybe more. Any questions? Remember that about the wind. That is one of the things that nobody hardly tells you, because I don't know what it is they don't know or don't care or what. But when that coyote smells something he doesn't understand, he can't tell by his sight what's there. He can't hear nothing, so he's going to rely on this nose, and he's going to walk into the wind in his face. That's the way he trusts. And that way you've got his attention focused on this and not on your trap, and he steps in your trap. Remember, use foot guides. I know we've got them out here, and it's hard to get everything into the demo. Use foot guides, and whether you're on pine needles or leaves or dirt, use some kind of a foot guide. And I like something that I like to stick them in straight. Pick them short. If my scent's right here and my trap's right here and the wind's right here, to preclude him from standing off over here and off over here, see, I got something right there. I can leave it laying there, or I can stick it straight in right there. Now, I wouldn't get something. Hell, I ain't gonna break their bush. Yeah, I am. Don't get this. That's about as natural as a bikini in a church. You know, stuff that don't look right, don't do it. Do something that looks right and blends in with what you got. That's all you got to remember. Because every bit of ground's different. These flat sets, you can make one here, and one over here, and one over there. They all look different. Every one of them. You can pick something that's already here. Notice how I've got this kind of blocked off from this side. That's kind of wedged under there and drove in the ground. Got to work at it. That looks different from that. If you put another trap right over here by one of those rocks, or had this over there, they all look different. And that keeps him thinking. He don't get to pattern you, because what they will do is pattern you. What time is it?
2:44. 2:44.
All right, I'm finna close with this. Wayne Derricks, y'all ever heard of Wayne Derricks? New Mexico. He's a close friend of mine. He told me this story, and that's what he's done for a living all his life. He worked for the government, retired, and he worked in private coyote control. He said he had 2 coyotes that he couldn't catch one time, and he was using the old getter guns, the M44s, that shot the cyanide cartridge in their mouth. He couldn't catch them in a trap, so he used those guns. Well, he could not catch those last 2 coyotes, and they were still killing sheep. He tried and he tried and he tried, and he said one day he finally figured something. He said, I'm gonna try it. He called one of his buddies, and he got his buddy to come over there, and they went up from those 2 M44s, the last 2 he had, and about 100 yards up, they put 2 fresh M44s in the ground. Just a little piece of pipe. When they pull it, it's got a 38 pistol cartridge casing in there, and it fires that cyanide in their mouth and kills them. You've got to put a bait on there that they like to pull, bite and pull. And he said he got his friend there, and he stayed in the truck, and he drove up there, past the last 2, and he said, now get out, get 2 M44s, take the same 2 lures I was using down there, and set 2 of them right here. They did. They covered them up with a cow chip. Said in 3 days, both of the coyotes were laying there dead. Those coyotes had got used to his scent. They had got used to Wayne's scent. But they didn't know what his partner smelled like. So, not all of them are like that. But the reason they get like that is because they're good at staying alive. If you'll go out and just approach coyote trapping like I've showed you, put them sets in and get good habits and roll with it, you'll catch some numbers for the time you're out there. But just remember, practically everywhere you go, those last few, you're not going to catch them. If you're going to stay there and catch them, you're going to have to try a little bit harder and think of a few more things to catch them. Because they're not the last ones for a reap, just happen so. They think just a little more than the rest of them do, for whatever reason that may be. Any questions?
Hey, how many smells do you use in your set? How many smells do you use in your set?
It's according to what kind of, I make my own lure. Most of my lures are kind of fragrant. Just about all time I've at least got one lure and urine. If you've got some, say you're using a food lure and a gland lure and it's pretty plain, I would use at least 2 smells plus urine. And I wouldn't necessarily put it all in the same place. Putting urine on your traps is something I'm not fond of, though. I've heard of that. As a matter of fact, when I first learned to trap, I tried some of that with fox trapping. And the deal is I catch my own pee, but it's not sterile. You'll have some food particles in it, and that gets on your trap and they'll scratch at it. And so does the stuff you buy from these people that sell it. It's the same way. It's not magic. So you have to take I don't like putting urine on traps. I may not put it, Derek's question. I may put a food lure in here. I may put a gland lure right here on top. Now, I may put urine all over this whole thing. That's fine. That's 3 smells. But then again, I might say that coyote's traveling through here. Let's say this is just a little indentation in the brush, and that's an open road going down through clear cut or a pasture or whatever. I may squirt pee over to that road. I've never told this. The ones of you who's rode with me have seen it and you know it. And y'all, I appreciate you not telling, but I'll tell everybody because this is our home craft. Urine is a trailing scent up to your trap. Puts a coyote in a different mood. Changes his mind about a lot of things. Gets his mind off of one thing. And one thing you can remember to help you catch those that are harder to catch. If you've just got one thing for him to focus on, he's got that much more time to focus on you. Give him 2 or 3 or 4 more things. Lay an old piece of deer hide or a piece of roadkill out there. Lay an old bone out there. But the smells, the sights, now I'm not going to say I go up to every trap and go to all that trouble. But for those special ones that are a little harder to catch, the last few that's left, you have to do something like that. Any more questions?
Yeah, do you ever use a urine post? Do you ever use a urine post?
That's what I was talking about, that set that they circle. They may circle these 2 or 3, not knowing what it is. Well, I may get out over here on about the edge of where I think they may be circling, and I may use some urine and nothing but a trap and urine. And you call it a post, but I don't use a post sticking up. Very seldom I ever do that, because folks think of like a dog, they hike their legs and stuff. Female can't do that. Female squats. I like something low on the ground. When I do that, I like to make sure I guide them into my trap too. Make it where they can't walk up on the other side. Just, you can find something to lay there, something to do. It's not rocket science, but see, he's thinking 365 days a year to live. Most time we're not. We get a little slack.
Fox is sensitive to covered backings.
Say it again now.
Fox is sensitive to a covered backing. They're walking in.
Gray fox is one of the most aggressive trap working animals it is. He is aggressive. Now, I'll be honest, if you ever, an old gray fox, if you ever snap on him or something, I caught one back when we had a season closed and I had to turn him loose. Well, every trap on that road, he had vacation that next week, giving me holy dickens. He dug every one of them up, and I think he laughed at them. They were the funniest one. It was a number 3 trap set for a coyote. And it was set, and when I drove up, I just couldn't do nothing but laugh. It looked like an inverted cone. That trap was sitting there balanced, just like this, in midair. Balanced on that little tiny piece of dirt. It was just a cone where he had dug out all the way around. So you know they can do some of that stuff, but there's no need of making them do it, because
You need a picture of that.
I would have loved to have a video watching that dude do this.
What do you do in wet weather where you put over your trout?
Sir,
Wet and muddy.
I forgot something. Y'all hold up. I got so busy talking. This is what I use for a pan cover. I like wax paper. All that mess about them hearing it and backing off, that's a bunch of crap. I like it. Coffee filters are okay. But now I lay that, whenever I set my trap, I lay that over my trap. Even with these big pans, you can use these with peat moss and not use a cover, but dirt or anything else, you got to use a cover. Chip Davis makes these.
You use peat moss in the winter?
I do when it starts raining. When it starts raining, I've got 2 blue jugs about that big around that tall, and that's what I use, because I found nothing that works in our area any better nor any cheaper.
Cold weather too.
Cold weather, sure do. Anything else? Thank y'all for your time, and I've enjoyed it.